My name is Taylor. I am the Admission Experience Specialist in our Office of Admission. I am an alum of our Nutrition Education program. I was also a student ambassador during my time in the program working in the Office of Admission. So I like to think I bring many different perspectives to the table. I've really been in all sorts of shoes in this process. So I definitely hope I can act as a really great resource for y'all. So just a couple of housekeeping items. I want to just point your attention to the bottom of your screen where you'll see your Zoom toolbar. I'd like to point your attention to the Q&A feature. This is going to be where you can send in any questions you have throughout today's presentation. Just know I will be leaving a time at the end of our presentation today to get to as many questions as I possibly can. So you'll be using the Q&A feature to send in any questions. Please only use the Q&A for questions. The chat is there if you have any sort of technical difficulties, such as, Zoom breaking down or whatever it might be. And we can hopefully try to troubleshoot, but primarily the Q&A will be your best friend in this hour session we have together to send your questions to us. I just want you to know that it is an anonymous feature, so while y'all cannot see your submissions on your end, I can see them, rest assured, and I will be getting to as many questions as I possibly can. Please keep in mind that I will not be able to answer super program specific questions. I'll be able to provide resources for you to be able to reach out to an individual that would be able to assist you with your program-specific question. So I will be answering as more general questions and providing insight that way. So to kind of get started and get familiar with the Q&A feature this morning, again, which you'll be using to submit questions to me throughout the presentation, I'd love to know where my participants today are tuning in from. So if you could put in the Q&A where you're tuning in from, as well as the program that you're interested here at Teachers College. We have over 100 programs, so I'm really curious to know who my audience is this morning. So again, please use the Q&A feature to let me know where you're tuning in from today, as well as what program you're interested in. Awesome. I see some coming in already, which is great. We have someone interested in learning analytics. Awesome. North Carolina, speech language pathology. Great. Welcome. We have some New York present. We always do. Awesome. PhD in education policy. Great. Welcome. We have Connecticut joining us this morning, interested in counseling psychology. Some South Carolina here, interested in clinical psych. Awesome. Some more New York City, excellent. California, love that. Rochester, love that. I'm from Syracuse, so we love some upstate folks here in the room. Awesome. DC, great. Boston. Awesome. Keep those coming in, y'all. I really do love to see where everyone's coming from. Canada, we have some Syracuse alum. We love that. Awesome. Love to see some Orange family here. Again, please continue to keep those coming. I love to see where everyone is, this morning or this afternoon or evening, whatever time it is for you. We even have some Singapore present, Tokyo, Canada. That's awesome. Welcome. Thank you all so much for taking the time to be here this morning. I'm really excited to have this hour with you. All right. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and just kind of dive into our presentation today. We're really intending the session to start you on your journey to discovering what makes us, Teachers College unique as an institution. We're going to be covering information about what TC has to offer you. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the second part is going to be a dive into the application process. There's a bit to know about TC, so we're going to just get right into it. A lot to cover this morning. All right. So we have 6 core characteristics that we feel is kind of identifying to Teachers College as a whole, something that we really truly feel defines us as an institution. So these are the 6 core characteristics, but please rest assured, I will be deep diving a little bit more into each of them throughout my presentation this morning. So the first being that we are the oldest, largest, and most comprehensive graduate school of education in the country. The second is that we are really truly at the forefront of groundbreaking research. And kind of hand in hand with that, we're very, very lucky and fortunate to have world-class faculty who are expert in their fields and really at the forefront of that groundbreaking research as well with our students. The fourth core characteristic is that social justice is really at the core of everything we do here as an institution. It's in our research, it's in our classrooms, it's in our community. It's very prominent here, and I'll talk a little bit more about kind of what that looks like today here on our campus. Next, it's probably no shock to you. You probably knew this ahead of time, but we are affiliated with Columbia University. I will talk much more about what that means later. And then, of course, I feel that the sixth and final one is a personality trait to us at this point, is that we are located in New York City, which, of course, affords so many opportunities to our students, both personally and professionally. So we'll talk a lot more about what that looks like for our students later on. All right, so we're going to take a little bit of a history lesson here. It'll be brief. There will not be a quiz. Do not worry. So Teachers College got its start originally in 1880. Actually, the school had a location in downtown in Greenwich Village, where Grace Dodge created an institution for the housing arts. So it was really for housing arts like areas of study, if you will. Then in 1887, the school moved to its current uptown location in Morningside Heights, where we are now, and co-founding with Nicholas Butler, they created an institution with the goal of educating teachers for their newly diverse classrooms. At the time in the late 1800s in New York City, there was a very large influx of immigrant families during this time coming to New York. And, you know, a lot of their children needed to enter our school systems, and our teachers just felt like they were not properly prepared to best educate these students from different backgrounds, different cultures, different ethnicities. So really, Teachers College had that goal to better educate teachers of New York City for these newly diverse classrooms. So that's kind of where we got our name, Teachers College. But we are so much more than just a teacher education institution. Over time, we really realize there's so much more to a child's success in the classroom outside of just what's going on in the classroom walls. Things such as policy, leadership, psychology, health, nutrition, things like that all play into a child's success in the classroom. So that's kind of where we turned into more of an interdisciplinary institution and why we are the largest, most comprehensive graduate school in the country. So despite the name Teachers College, which we do still have about a third of our students in continuing those teacher education programs, 2/3 are in the health, psychology, and leadership programs I was kind of talking about earlier. So we've really evolved as an institution. But all that to say as well that it really goes to show how social justice has always really been part of our mission as an institution. We wanted to create a space where teachers could really learn how to work with learners from such a diverse range of backgrounds. And it's still very prominent on our campus today. Again, I'll go a little bit more into what that means later. So today we've grown to be over 100 programs between these three pillars, which you'll see on my slide here highlighted in, it's like a yellow-orange color, whatever you think, education, health, and psychology. These are our three pillars here at Teachers College. And within these three pillars, we have 10 academic departments, which you'll see here listed on this slide. And the 120 programs span between all 10 of these academic departments. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about each pillar, we do offer pillar-specific webinars on our event page, probably where you found this information session to register for. So I definitely recommend checking out our events page. Is a great resource for all of our events. We have virtual tours, on-campus sessions with a in-person tour, crafting an ideal TC application webinar, financial aid webinars, and anything you can really think of, we do offer. So we have a suite of resources for you on that events page. So I definitely recommend continuing to check it out even after our time here this morning. You know, the breadth of our courses, kind of diving back into how comprehensive we are as an institution, the breadth of our courses are really where our multidisciplinary nature comes into the individual student experience. You know, we're always looking to develop new programs. So we're really at the forefront of program development as well as research, really trying to meet the needs of our community and our world and create curriculum and programming based on that, and research, of course. We are constantly at the cutting edge of program development, really with the goal of being pioneers in these fields. All right, so kind of talking more about that groundbreaking research that I've been mentioning, right? Our approach to education is quite broad and interdisciplinary, so the research done here at TC really takes advantage of this fact. We've been around for a little bit since the late 1800s. So, we really feel like we've become experts in certain fields and are continuously looking to contribute to not only our community, but the world as a whole. We have over 54 very prestigious research centers, institutes, and labs right here at the college. They cover a wide range of topics, and we really lean on our faculty who are leaders in their fields to show us how we can meet the needs of an ever-evolving world around us. And it's so exciting to have this cutting-edge research happening right on our campus, right? Our students get to participate directly in that research. You can actually be part of the change and the impact that we're making in these different fields. And we really encourage our students to do that. You get out what you put in here at Teachers College. So if you want to be part of it, you are more than welcome to be. We really encourage our students to reach out to the faculty. Your faculty are a really great resource and are often those that are doing the research that you're interested in, right? And if not, they might know of someone in the field and have a connection with, or a lab or an institute, and if maybe another faculty member that they could connect you with that might be a little bit more up your alley, more in your area of interest. So they're a really excellent resource, and we definitely want to encourage, more opportunities for our students, even outside of Teachers College. So these are you'll see a few research centers and labs that we have here on our campus. I always like to highlight a few of them to kind of show you the range of topics that are covered in these centers and labs. So you'll see at the top right corner, our Snow a Day Learning Lab. They really look at the world through play, via, the study of games, toys, technologies, tools, other different modes of instruction. It's a really cool place. I actually got to visit it over the summer. Really cool place that I've been talking about in information sessions, but I had not actually seen it yet. Another is our Community College Research Center. They really look at innovations and other policy to help, every community college student. And they've really been a leader and at the forefront of community college research for over 25 years. Our current president, Thomas Bailey, is very passionate about community college research. So he's really been very heavily involved in this research center, which just goes to show how involved he is in Teachers College as an institution. He's really has a hand in that center and lab, which I think is really wonderful. Another one I always like to highlight is the Institute for Urban and Minority Education. For over 40 years now, they've really sought to improve the quality of life chances of communities of color through education in urban contexts. These are just a few. We have an entire website based, in this research and shows you all the different centers and labs and what they're doing. So I really encourage you to check out that website and just kind of get excited. This is research that you could be involved in as a student. Outside of what's happening on our campus, you can network with professors, with faculty, with staff in your program, with other students to kind of gauge other opportunities as well. It's a really exciting time to be a student here at Teachers College. All right, that next core characteristic I was talking about was that social justice has truly been at our core since our very founding. We really attribute our success to our diverse community who are at the core of our work. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are really integral to our institution and really touch every corner of TC. As I mentioned, we were previously founded to aid teachers as they prepare to teach newly diverse students. And this orientation to diversity has really remained at the center of our community that we continue to build here at TC. It's infused in our curriculum with over 60 regularly offered courses that center on race, ethnicity, and intercultural understanding. We have a couple of classes that I can name, that just kind of show that it's still prominent here on our campus, race, ethnicity, and U.S. educational policy, issues in Black and Latina transnational feminism, and microaggression institutional climates. Lots of different course offerings here, and our faculty are truly still passionate about these topics and will engage with you as a student as well, should you be interested. It's also included in our academic programming and symposiums that will cover topics such as rural education and human rights. It's also really at the cornerstone for our research centers and labs. They're constantly revolving their research around the questions of what barriers exist in these fields, how can we break them down, how can we create access for marginalized or underserved communities? So lots of different amazing research going on. Some examples are our Trauma, Loss, and Emotion Lab, our Tisch Food Center for Food Education and Policy, as well as our Center for Educational Equity. Lots of different amazing research centers, initiatives, things going on, again, that you can be part of as a student. We also have student organizations that really center around social justice and diversity and equity. This includes the Association of Latin American Students, the Black Student Network, Queer TC, and so many more that are at the forefront of advocacy as they host, student programming, films, discussions, conferences, symposiums, lots of different ways to get people involved in this type of work and get them really thinking about it. We also have an office dedicated to these works, our Office for Diversity and Community Affairs, ODCA for short. We love acronyms here at TC. They really are leading our college's initiatives concerning community diversity and equity. They really host lots of workshops, trainings, et cetera, to educate our students, faculty, and just community members on issues such as discrimination, gender inclusion, privilege. We really here at TC believe in the importance of community engagement and empowering the community around us. So while we work year-round with partners and neighbors to empower the community, we also have TC Impact Day, which you can see at the bottom of my screen here. It's a really visible day of action. So we do a lot of discussion, we do a lot of talk, a lot of brainstorming, a lot of chat about it, but TC Impact Day is the visible action of that work. And we really are calling upon our TC community to get involved through service projects within the greater community. So again, lots of different ways to get involved. I know myself, I knew social justice was very important to Teachers College when I was looking at the nutrition education program for myself, but I wasn't sure how that was going to show up in nutrition. I wasn't sure if nutrition was a field that this would be super vocal in, but boy, was I so wrong. The second I got to campus, I saw just how important equity and inclusion and diversity is in the fields. Getting directly involved in the community. We would work in food gardens or community gardens in our neighboring communities like Harlem, working in school districts here to work on school lunch programming, things like that. So no matter what program you're in here, it does touch it in some capacity in different ways. And I think we all become better human beings at the end of the day because of it. And TC is really to thank to that. All right, moving on. So we talked a lot about our, background, where we've come from. So I'm sure you're a little curious to know who we are as an institution today. So we have a total enrollment, typically speaking, around 4,600 students at a time. This is at one time. Greater entry terms for us are summer and fall. We'll typically see 1,600 to 1,700, sometimes 1,800 students come in at one time during the summer or fall period. We are very excited to have 50 states, including DC, represented, but even more excited and proud to have a thriving international student population here. Oh no, why did this do that? Here we go. Sorry about that, folks. Very proud to have a thriving international student population with representation from 74 different nations. Just a few to name that are some top countries we typically see here on our campus. That would be China, South Korea, India, Canada, Brazil, Taiwan as well, which is very exciting. So they encompass about 27% of our student population. And we also have over 30% of students identifying as a person of color. Students who report their self-ethnicity, we have the numbers down here for you, 8% reporting as Black or African American, about 13% Asian American, about 10% Hispanic or Latina, and approximately 2% multi-ethnic. So we have a lot of different types of people here on our campus that really contribute to the classroom and the discussions that are being had here. Kind of piggybacking off of that, our median student age here is 31 years old. We are seeing that get a little younger over the past few years, just because it's becoming a little bit more popular for students to come directly from undergrad. But rest assured that that is not super obvious on our campus. We have folks from all different age groups, all different categories who have come from 10 plus years in the field and are coming to get a new, another degree to continue their education and deepen their knowledge, which I truly think makes for a very rich classroom experience. Hearing from folks who have a lot more professional experience. Myself, I came directly from undergrad. So I really loved getting to know my peers who had been in the field for many, many years professionally. And it might have been even a field that wasn't nutrition, which was also kind of common for my program as well. So really leaning on them to kind of guide me with professional knowledge and resources as well. A little bit more information about our students, pretty typical for a graduate school. A majority of our students at 72% are master's students, and then a smaller percent at 23% are pursuing doctoral degrees, with about 5 to 6% range of students pursuing non-degree studies, which means they're not necessarily enrolled in a full degree program here. They might just be taking a couple courses to kind of get their toes wet that they could eventually attribute to a degree program should they choose to pursue that. And then we have a nice breakdown here of full-time and part-time studies. About 69% of our students are continuing their studies at a full-time capacity, which I believe currently right now is 9 credits plus. And then 31% of our students pursuing their studies at a part-time status. This is something I feel is very, unique to TC, is that there's often an option to pursue your studies and your program at a full-time or part-time status. It's going to be very program dependent. Some programs need you to be enrolled in full time. Maybe it leads to a teacher certification or any sort of certification. There's field work involved, things like that, where there's a lot more to get done in the short time that you're here. So you might only be able to do part-time, but a lot of programs allow the flexibility. You might even be able to weave in and out of full-time or part-time kind of based on your circumstances, work or personal obligations, whatever it might be. At the time, I don't know what the nutrition program is currently looking like in terms of this policy, but when I was in the program, I was able to weave in and out of full-time or part-time, which was very fun for me because I was able to work a little bit more. I had 2 student jobs, so it was a really great way for me to have more time to make some money on the side, pay my tuition bill, etc. So a lot of programs offer that flexibility. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about if your program offers that flexibility, we would encourage you to reach out to your admission liaison, who I'll talk about at the end, who those individuals are. Those are also your go-to for program-specific questions as well. All right. Student resources. So, of course, there are many resources and supports for you as a student, both in the classroom, but there are so many resources for you beyond the faculty that will help shape your TC experience. The Office of Student Affairs is kind of the division that kind of is the larger office that all of these other offices kind of fall under their umbrella. So the first to mention is the Office of Student Support and Advocacy. Their objective is really to provide students with a central point of wellness and also just general wellness and support resources here at TC. They can meet with you to provide referrals, resources, and support. On their website, they also have a section of dedicated resources for students that highlights counseling and psychology services, virtual support groups, resources for the deaf community, food insecurity, and much more. They're very much so a catch-all office. So if you're having any sort of experiences that you need some help with, any sort of issues, any sort of trouble, they're an office that they have open doors and open arms, and that they really have told us, they're here for whatever it is that you might need. So if you're not sure where to go, this is a great office to go to. They're there to assist you with whatever it is you need. The Office of Graduate Student Life and Development is GSLD for short. Again, we love acronyms and abbreviations here. They're really encouraging our students to become familiar with programs and services designed to enhance the graduate student life experience. Alongside, academic studies in the classroom, our students have many out-of-class opportunities to engage with their peers and persons with the diverse and cultural experiences. They can examine new philosophies, develop new interests and skills, and also prepare for active participation in a rapidly changing global society. One of these resources in the Graduate Student Life and Development Office is our Graduate Writing Center. Graduate school involves a lot of writing, no matter what program you're in. I definitely wasn't prepared for that, I think, in nutrition. We're normally taking a lot of exams, but we were doing a lot of writing here in grad school. So no matter what program you're in, you can't escape it. It's going to happen. So they offer monthly workshops, consultations, writing retreats, small mini workshops, etc. They're there to help you ace that paper, dissertation, master's thesis, whatever it is, it might be. Additionally, GSLD hosts our 40 student-run organizations here on our campus. They range from various topics, ethnographic and cultural interests, professional, networking, political interests, and just some for fun. As a TC student, you also have access to Columbia's main campus organizations as well. So if you don't see any organization here on our campus that kind of suits your fancy, you can go to Columbia's main campus and get involved with their organizations and clubs there. As a community, we really want our students to take advantage of New York City culture through discounts to museums and exhibits, which the Graduate Student Life and Development Office offers, theater, film, and so much more. So they're really here to kind of enhance your experience outside of the classroom, just as much so inside the classroom. Another office I definitely love to mention is our Office of International Students and Scholars, OISS for short. They're really committed to providing services and programs that support the growth, development, and welfare of our international students and scholars on multiple levels. They really specialize in advising our international students and scholars on compliance with immigration laws and regulations. They also have designated international student programming that really enrich the social and cultural experience of graduate international students, including their own orientation programming. They have cross-cultural and practical adjustment resources and advising, and so much more. They're really a great go-to office for our current international students, and they have a really great website, so you're welcome to check that out. Another office we like to mention is insurance and immunizations. It's exactly as it sounds. They ensure our students are in compliance with New York State laws and TC policies regarding immunizations. You can head to their website and email them if you have any questions regarding TC's vaccination requirements. And then last but certainly not least is TC Next, which is our career services office. With the clever name of TC Next, they're really designated to helping you think about what's next for you after TC. I know it's a little daunting considering you're just interested students, prospective students. So it seems rather far out to be thinking about what could be out there for you in your time after Teachers College. But it's never too early to start thinking about it. They can really, whether you're seeking a job, academic pursuits, or just other opportunities, they're really there to help you prepare for the post-grad pathway of your choice. They have career workshops, career fairs, mock interviews, cover letter, resume reviews. They do workshops. They bring in professionals to do little workshops with y'all, personal support, one-on-one career advising. They have a very extensive networking database as well, and so many more things. Just really a great office to help support you that I think a lot of our students wish they took advantage of earlier. And something that I think is really unique to us as an institution is that they are available to you. TC Next is available to you after your time here at TC. So when you graduate, you can still utilize TC Next as a career resource. Graduate school is an investment in yourself. You're choosing to pursue higher education, and you're choosing to deepen your knowledge, right? And I think TC Next is a really prime example of how Teachers College is invested in you as well. And this is a resource that we want you to be able to utilize 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. You could come back to us in a decade and say, I would really like to get involved in this area, this field. How should I go about doing that? Do you have any alumni in that area? Things like that. So really invested in you as you are in us as an institution. All right. We are affiliated with Columbia University. What the heck does that mean? So I'll tell you a little bit more about it. So we became affiliated in 1898. We were technically built as a separate institution, just literally across the street from Columbia's main campus. However, in 1898, we decided to collaborate and we became Columbia's official graduate school of education. Today, we are one of 21 institutions that are part of the larger Columbia University network. So if anyone is familiar with Barnard, which is an undergraduate college here at Columbia University, it is a similar situation. So we are one of the greater 21 institutions that make up Columbia University. But that being said, you get the best of both worlds being at TC. You have your small niche community here, But then you walk literally across the street and enter main campus, and you have access to all of these incredible resources. You have access to their athletics facilities and pool, their gym. As I mentioned, their clubs and organizations. So if the 40 student run ones here on our campus don't seem interesting to you, you have access to the hundreds of organizations they have on main campus. You have access to their libraries. We have only one library here on our campus, where they have 20 other libraries on their main campus, which make up the 8th largest library system in the country. So you have access to all those libraries, which I think is awesome. You have access to the very robust healthcare and health services on main campus as well. You have access to psychological services and a women's center. You can also attend lectures, panels, other events that are going on main campus. You get to enjoy the benefits of cross-registering through different Columbia schools as electives for your programs, if your program gives that flexibility. You also have access to dining services, the eateries, their bookstore, shuttle services, and more. So you really graduate with the best of both worlds, but ultimately your degree does come from Columbia University. I can attest, I got my diploma a year ago at this point, and it was a Columbia University diploma. So Scouts honor here. It is a Columbia University degree. Oops. My slideshow is not cooperating with me here on this Monday morning. All right, so I, of course, would be remiss not to mention the benefits of being a TC student in New York City. You know, it is one of the most exciting things about being a student here is having access to all the resources and opportunities in New York. Educationally, you know, we really do see the city as an extension of our campus and use New York City as a learning laboratory for our students in a variety of disciplines. Not only do you have the access to the greatest library system in the world, but you have access to conferences, workshops, events year-round that are not just restricted to the events happening on our campuses here at TC or Columbia's main campus. You also have opportunities to conduct research. If you're doing student teaching, your student teaching is going to happen within the 5 boroughs of the city. So you're really able to enhance your learning and education. Professionally, you know, those that are taking advantage of those opportunities, it's really beyond those that are available in just about any other location in the United States. Particularly for those striving for professional opportunities, the city provides a very incredible landscape to develop or foster a career, from part-time to full-time employment, opportunity for internships, externships, field work that ultimately can lead to long-term employment in your desired field. It's very exciting stuff happening here. And then, of course, culturally and socially, you know, this is just such an incredibly diverse and world-class city that truly provides an innumerable amount of opportunities for students to really grow, explore, and flourish, whether it's through museums, the theater, restaurants. Our students really enjoy the benefit of finding their own pocket of New York City that really inspires and influences their academic and professional goals. It's unlike any other. I did my undergrad in Syracuse. I'm also from Syracuse, so I did it right in my backyard, basically. And moving to New York City for my graduate education in Teachers College was my first time living full-time in another place other than Syracuse. And I truly feel that I would have done myself a disservice if I stopped my education in Syracuse. There was so much more for me to learn, not only in nutrition, but just as a human being. I truly feel like it shaped me both as a person and professionally, continuing my education here in New York. It's just a city unlike any other. And I cannot emphasize that enough, that it provides so many more opportunities than you're able to get in other cities. All right, so enough about all that. We're going to get into the application process now. I'm going to try to do this in the next 15 minutes so we can leave some time at the end for questions. Just give me a moment. I'm going to hydrate a little bit. It's a lot of talking for me on a Monday morning. All right, so now that you have a robust understanding of TC, we're going to turn right to the application process now. So what you'll see here on the screen is an overview of the application requirements. We'll kind of deep dive a little bit more into each of these as we go through my presentation here. So our application is fully online, so you can access it on our website. You create a login for it, and you can work on it anytime you want, save it and leave and come back to it. You don't have to complete the application in one sitting. There's a $65 application fee. I'm going to actually also type in the website for getting to our application in the chat. There you are, tc.edu/apply. You create an account, and for those who have maybe applied in the past, we encourage you to use the same account because some of your previously submitted materials can transfer over, so definitely recommend doing that. Again, a $65 fee is required to apply. We require all post-secondary transcripts. Those are absolutely necessary. If you earned a degree outside of the United States, you're welcome to, we'll need you to submit a course-by-course evaluation from WES, WES, or ECE. But if your degree was earned within the US, you're welcome to submit unofficial transcripts as part of the application process. But if later admitted, we would require official copies. We require, of course, a resume or a CV from everyone. We'll talk more about that in a bit. 2 letters of recommendation are going to be required for all programs, but this is the minimum. Some require 3, so be sure to check your program's application requirements and keep in mind that 3 is the maximum number of letters of recommendation that you can submit. Even if only 2 are required, we ask that you do not submit 3 as we will not review more than 3. Everyone needs a statement of purpose. I will talk more about what parameters to look for that. As well as some potential supplemental materials. This could be an academic writing sample, standardized test scores, education requirements, things like that. So we'll dive a little bit more into that later. A thing I definitely want to highlight is that we want our applicants to keep in mind that our applications are reviewed holistically, meaning we welcome all applicants and weigh each aspect of your application equally. We will not judge you based on maybe the C you got in General Chemistry 101 freshman year, which was me. So there's more, we feel like there's more to our students than an application number, a grade, a GPA, right? We don't have GPA requirements here, cutoffs. We don't have standardized test score minimums requirements. Because we just know that our applicants are more than a number. And we know that sometimes those don't always showcase your abilities in the classroom and professionally. So we weigh everything equally here. So for anyone who wants to know more about their program-specific requirements, I'm going to share the link to our program search page, which is www.tc.edu/programs. I'm typing it into the chat now. This is going to be your go-to place to learn more about your application requirements specifically, as well as your deadlines. So I'll be showing, I think there's a screenshot and a few slides here, so I'll point out everything you'll need to know here. But I would definitely bookmark this page because this is going to be a great place to go to learn everything you need to know about the requirements for your specific application and deadlines, etc. All right, so we're going to dive a little bit more into each of these. So talking about deadlines, so we have them, they vary by program, but there's some that are kind of clustered into these categories. So it's very important to check that program search page for your program specific deadlines. Doctoral programs all have the same deadline of December 1st. So that deadline has passed, unfortunately. So the next available entry for doctoral programs will be 2024. Our 2024 application will be open towards the end of the summer or early fall. So just keep your eye on that. It is not open yet, unfortunately. Our master's programs offer a spring entry. Keep in mind, not every program offers every single entry term. So not all programs offer spring entry. Some programs only offer fall entry. So that program search page is going to be a really great resource for you to go to double check to make sure that your program offers the term that you're looking to apply to. If your program offers a spring entry and you want to apply to a spring entry, they have a November 1st deadline. So the next available entry term for spring will be spring 2024 with a November 1st deadline. If your program doesn't offer spring, or you're just interested in summer or fall, they offer an early deadline. Most programs do, some programs don't, of January 15th. This is a deadline that we encourage all of our applicants to apply to if you're able to. There's a couple of benefits to applying to this deadline. First, you get your decision back earlier. Mid to late March is typically the timeline. That's when there's the most space available in your program, so the most seats to take, and that's also when the most funding is available. Now, rest assured, our priority deadline may have passed, but not all the funding is gone. The priority deadline is just when there's the most funding. So you can still get funding, still be awarded scholarship and aid if you apply after the priority deadline. But we always encourage applicants, if they can, to meet the priority deadline because it just puts them in the best position in many, many ways. Some programs offer rolling deadlines. A rolling deadline means that there's no final deadline per se. They're just reviewing applications and giving admissions decisions on a rolling basis. However, we do have to have some sort of cutoff. We cannot review an application the day before a term starts and admit them and expect them to start. So for spring, if the program offers a rolling deadline for spring, the cutoff is usually December 1st. For summer, June 1st, and for the fall, July 1st. So it's encouraged that you apply as soon as possible, as early as possible, because there's no guarantee just how long that rolling deadline is going to stay open. Again, that tc.edu/programs is going to be your best friend in trying to find what your specific program deadlines are. Now, I want to point your attention to the international student deadlines. This is very important because this can be very applicable to our students who are applying as international students. These have different deadlines. They're earlier than some of our deadlines. So the only reason you would need to adhere to an international student deadline is if your program doesn't have an earlier deadline from that. So I know that can be a little confusing. Please feel free to email us if you ever want to clarify exactly what your deadline is. We're happy to clarify that for you. I'll give you a scenario. So a lot of programs will have a fall April 15th final deadline. A lot of programs do, not all of them, but a lot of them do. If they do, as an international student, you need to adhere to that earlier deadline because the program deadline is earlier than the fall international student deadline of June 1st. So you need to apply by April 15th. The international student deadline will come in a lot more with rolling program deadlines. For example, if you're applying to a program for the fall with a rolling deadline, you see that the cutoff for fall is around July 1st, but for international students, it needs to be June 1st. Again, please feel free to email us if you ever need to clarify. We're happy to kind of clear that up for you. All right, moving on. Transcripts, this is a very basic requirement, for all graduate institutions. It's really a primary glimpse into your history as a student and really is our way to retrieve academic data about you. Just note, as I mentioned, it's a holistic review process, so it's not the sole determining factor of your admissions decision. As I mentioned, if you received your degree from a U.S. institution, you can apply with unofficial transcripts. These are transcripts that are like scanned, uploaded on your behalf. They're copies that you have on your own. You can apply with official transcripts. They're not required for U.S. institutions. But, if you do, you're just one step ahead. If you're offered admission, we would require the official transcript anyway. Official transcripts are those that are sent to us directly from the institution via email or standard mail in a sealed envelope. Email is the, electronic processed systems like Parchment, National Student Clearinghouse, etc. You can find addresses to send these materials on our website in our FAQ section. So definitely check that out if you need to. We definitely encourage you to send things electronically. It's just a little quicker, a little easier. But we understand if standard mail is all that's offered for your institution. That's fine too. Just note it takes a little longer for us to receive, process, and upload them. Something that you need to know that needs to be included in your transcripts is 3 things that we're looking for: course titles, the credits for the courses, and the grades you receive for the courses. So all 3 of these components need to be included for all the coursework you've done on your transcript. An example, if you've done a study abroad, if you've done transfer work at a previous institution that transferred to your home institution, as long as the transcript on your home institution's transcript lists course titles, credits, and grades for your study abroad or your transfer program, we don't need a separate transcript. However, if any of that information is missing, a lot of the time transfer credits will be listed with a T for the grade on the home transcript. We actually will require the separate transcript. We need the grade that you received. So important to be aware of that. That might be a requirement. It's best, it's a self-managed application process. So stay on top of it yourself. And it leaves you in a better position so that later down the line, the deadline is 2 days away and we're like, hey, we still need the transcript. And you didn't realize because you didn't know what was on your home institution's transcript, didn't know to look for the 3 things. it just puts you in a better situation. So definitely know what's on your transcripts when you submit them to us to kind of save yourself some time and some stress, if you will. For international applicants, if you received a degree outside of the US, we require a course-by-course evaluation. Again, I mentioned WES, WES, or ECE. These are the only two providers that we accept these from. We cannot accept them from any other organization. So please ensure that they're sent from WES or ECE. We can only accept them sent directly from WES or ECE. So please do not send it to us on, your own copy. It's not technically official. So we'll need it directly from the organization themselves. All right, moving on to the resume. No real requirement here in terms of formatting. We just ask that it's clear, it's concise, keep the font a readable size, keep the font style readable, makes things easier for the review committee. Definitely make things clear, the dates of when you did this thing, the type of experience it is, demonstrate transferable skills, of course, and proofread it. We're not going to dock you for something that should have a comma or is misspelled, but it is graduate school and we're reviewing everything. So please make sure to just proofread that. You're welcome to submit a CV as part of the application if you feel that that is a better representation of your work as opposed to a resume. That is completely up to your discretion. All right, letters of rec. So as I mentioned, it is a standard requirement that every program is going to require at least 2. Some programs, though, do require 3. So again, that program search page, www.tc.edu/programs, that is going to be where you can check to see if your program requires that extra 3rd letter of recommendation. That's also where you can see if there's a specific type, professional versus academic recommendation that is required for your program. Generally speaking, if there's no requirement for your program to have a certain type, we do like to see at least 1 academic letter of recommendation because you're entering as a student. So faculty want to hear from other faculty how you were in the classroom and how you are as a student, right? So, however, you're welcome to submit 1 academic, 1 professional, 2 academic, if there's no requirement for your program. However, if your program says at least 1 academic or at least 1 professional is required, you have to adhere to that. So it's important to prepare your recommenders. Our deadlines are received by deadlines. I should have mentioned this in the deadline portion. I apologize for that. Meaning that we require all of your application materials to be received by the deadline. If we receive anything after the deadline, we cannot guarantee your application will be reviewed because it'll be considered late. So that includes letters of recommendation and other materials that you don't necessarily have the most control over. So it's very important to prepare your recommenders. They should know the deadline well in advance. They should know the program you're applying to. They should really be tailoring it and crafting it to what you're applying to. So we can really hear their voice about it and how they feel about your candidacy for the program. We would like the recommendations to include their address, their phone number, be coming from a professional email address, as well as be on professional letterhead if able to. We understand that some academic references, maybe they've been out of the institution for a few years, so maybe they don't have access to letterhead. That's okay. But if they do, we just prefer that. For the letters of recommendation within the online application, you input the contact information for them and we send them an individualized link to submit their letter of recommendation. We will not accept letters of recommendation that you send to us on their behalf. We need them to come directly from the recommender. Statement of purpose. I love to highlight this because I feel like it is truly your voice of the application. It is really where you have the most control over, right? It's where you can connect with the review committee. It's very forward thinking. We don't want it to be a regurgitation of all your past experiences. That should already be outlined in your resume, right? So we have 3 questions that we feel that are highlighted down here in the yellow-orange that we feel will provide a nice framework for when you're beginning to write your statement of purpose. So try answering these questions. Why you? Why are you a good fit for our institution, for the program you're applying to? Why TC? Why is Teachers College a good fit for you? And why now? Why is this a good time in your professional trajectory to pursue graduate studies? So between those 3 questions, I feel that you really hit all the things that the review committee is looking for. You weave in some relevant experiences, of course. Generally speaking, the requirement is 2 to 3 pages double spaced for the statement of purpose to kind of follow as a guide. So again, we definitely encourage you to spend a lot of time on this, really tailor it to us. We don't want it to sound like you just changed the school's name if you're applying to other schools, and really use it as a way to connect with the review committee. All right, and supplemental materials is kind of like the last section of the application process. So these are beyond the standard application items that we've just talked about. It depends on the program. Some programs require them and some don't. So again, that tc.edu/programs page is going to be a great place for you to go to see if your program has any supplemental materials. Here's a screenshot I provided, as I promised would be here. So you'll see this is for the music and music education program. You can see here that this shows the entry terms for the program. So you'll see this program does not offer spring. So a spring deadline is not listed. So this is a great place to know where your program is offering entry. It tells you the deadlines. This program has a traditional deadline situation of an early deadline of January 15th and a final deadline of April 15th. This is also where you can go to see all the application requirements. So it's going to list, every single program is going to list the very basic ones. So online application, transcripts, $65, application fee, 2 letters of recommendation. If your program requires 3 or a specific type of recommendation, it would be listed right here. And then you can see this is where the supplemental materials start to come into play. So the GRE is required for this program, so it's listed here. This program also requires performance recordings, which are included in the online application, as well as it's required to hold a master's degree in music already. So if an academic writing sample is required, there's other supplemental questions or essays that'll be listed here, an interview, a third letter of rec, etc. It's all going to be listed right here on your program search page. So again, this is going to be your best friend. So I definitely recommend bookmarking this page on your browser to just make sure you have it quick and handy. All right. I'm not going to talk much about financial aid because I am not the Office of Financial Aid, but they do offer their own information sessions and they're super accessible over their phone or their email, which is listed at the bottom here. And their website is very thorough and in-depth. They operate on a liaison model similar to us. So they have specific individuals that oversee certain departments. So you'll see at the top left, Alyssa Timko oversees curriculum and teaching, human development, and mathematics, science, and technology, the 3 departments. Christian oversees biobehavioral sciences, counseling and clinical psych, as well as health and behavior studies, and so on and so forth. So they are going to know a little bit more about your program-specific funding opportunities and your go-to for questions like that. They're really knowledgeable and they want to help you figure out how to fund your education. So I definitely recommend checking out their website and asking a little bit more on the phone. You can call them or over email about financial aid. And then last but certainly not least are our admission liaisons. They are here to help you with any and all of your program-specific questions. So they oversee specific departments. So I saw a lot of psychology students interested here. So Ashley Blaslin is going to be your admission liaison. Their emails are listed here. This is where you can go to inquire about program-specific questions or email them to set up an appointment. Just be warned, right now they're in their reading period. They're reviewing applications. So they are trying their best to get back to their inquiries as quick as possible. So please, bear with them. They're doing their best to be as timely as possible. I will mention that we have a new admission liaison for our arts and humanities department that I will put in the chat. So if you are interested in a program that falls under our arts and humanities department, that is going to be Robin Kim. I will put her email and name right in the chat right now. So you don't have to email AH admission anymore. You can email Robin. All right. There you go. As well as our general admission website. And you can also reach out to tcstudent@tc.columbia.edu to connect with one of our student ambassadors. Please keep in mind our ambassadors, we don't have one in every single program here at TC. So I recommend going to our website to see what academic or what programs that they do have or they are in. And you can email them at TC Student to set up an appointment or just ask some questions over email. All right, so that is all of my presentation. I was a little bit longer than I would have hoped, but that is okay. I'm going to stay on an extra 5 minutes just because I was a little chatty with my presentation today to get to as many questions as I possibly can. So feel free to use the Q&A, as I mentioned, to submit any and all questions. Again, please try to keep them as general as you can. Any program-specific questions, please refer them to your admission liaison because they will know the answer. And this way I'm able to answer things that are a lot more applicable to everyone here with us this morning. So just give me a second here. I'm going to sift through some questions. Awesome. Okay. A lot of questions about funding. Please refer these to the Office of Financial Aid. They can answer any and all questions you have about funding, what's available for you as an international student, as a student or applicant in a certain program. They are your go-to resources for that. I'll actually go ahead and link the financial aid website in the chat for you so you can kind of just go find their contact information and kind of explore their resources. All right, let's see. So and this is something I didn't go over, which I apologize. So if you are a not native English speaker, we do require a standardized test score for English proficiency. So this is going to be TOEFL or IELTS. We accept either. We only accept TOEFL or IELTS. We do not accept Duolingo. We do not accept other options for that. So the very minimum score on the TOEFL that is required is a 100. If you are an applicant to the TESOL program or applied linguistics programs, there's more specific requirements for that. So feel free to reach out to us at admission@tc.columbia.edu for more information about that. We can provide the program specific deadlines for you. And then for IELTS, the minimum for those who aren't applicants to applied linguistics or TESOL is 7. These are hard requirements. They must be met. I apologize that it is a hard policy for us. It's required, so we cannot waive that. You know, a 6.5 as opposed to a 7 on the IELTS is not going to be sufficient for your application. We require the minimum scores. So please do your best to ensure that your scores meet those minimums. You can waive the English proficiency exam requirements if you received a bachelor's degree or a graduate level degree at an English speaking institution. So you would need to reach out to your admission liaison to inquire about the process to waive that. So please don't wait until the day before your deadline to inquire about it. It doesn't automatically get waived in your application. When you put in your education background and such, you still need to contact your admission liaison, and they go ahead and work with you on the back end to waive that. So very important to keep on top of that. Put the financial aid website in the chat for y'all. Some questions about housing. So we do have 5 residential buildings here at Teachers College. So I'm going to go ahead and put the link to our housing in the chat. We have family style housing, single housing, suite style housing, lots of different options, really great ways to be super close to campus. A lot of them are fully furnished, which is great. So definitely contact the housing office if you have any specific questions about housing. Is it frowned upon to apply for both a master's and a PhD program at the same time as a backup? So you are only allowed to have one active application at a time per entry term. So you cannot apply to more than one program here at Teachers College. So you either apply to one or the other. Some programs, if you're applying to the master or to the PhD level or the doctoral level, and they offer a master's level, they might have an option in the application that says, would you like to be considered for the master's version, if not offered admission for the doctoral? Not all programs do that, but some do. So that's something to keep an eye out for in your online application. So that's an option, but keep in mind, you can only apply to one program at a time here at Teachers College. You can apply to a Teacher College program and a Columbia Business School program at the same time. You could apply to something outside of Teachers College in the Columbia University Network, but only one program of Teachers College at a time. Can you do remote learning part-time for a PhD? This is going to be very program dependent. So I definitely recommend reaching out to your admission liaison to inquire more about full or part-time opportunity in your program. I will say, generally speaking, we only have a handful of fully online programs that were online even before the pandemic. Most of our education and our mode of instruction has gone back to in-person. So that's just something to keep in mind. Of course, there's some hybrid courses. I know some of the student ambassadors, they have a mix of online classes and in-person classes, but there's usually an in-person component now that we are kind of back into the full swing of things. For a PhD, should you reach out to professors beforehand to get a sponsor or find a research topic? I recommend reaching out to your admission liaison first. They can connect you with your faculty and kind of be a segue into that. A little bit more about the deadlines. The priority deadline is on January 15th. As an international applicant, I must submit the application earlier than January 15th, like early December. No, if you are an international student applying to the priority deadline, you got to apply by January 15th. Repeat the information about priority deadlines. Sure. So the priority deadlines are an early deadline. It is not a binding deadline by any means. If you were offered admission in the early deadline review process, it's not binding. You don't have to accept the offer. But we definitely recommend applying to it because that is when the most funding is available. You get your decision back earlier, and that is when there's the most space available in your program. So lots of different perks to it. I will say I did not apply for the priority deadline. I was unable to meet it. I think I applied early February. So it is okay if you don't apply for the January 15th deadline, but I was kind of kicking myself a little bit when I didn't. So I definitely recommend just doing it and putting yourself in the best possible scenario for an admissions offer. As an international student, do I need to submit unofficial transcripts at the initial stage of the application? So if you received a degree from U.S. institutions, you can apply with official transcripts. But if they were international institutions, we require the course-by-course evaluation. The course-by-course evaluation should include the transcripts in it, so we wouldn't require them separately for the application as long as they're included in the course-by-course evaluation. For any of the master's program, does it matter what your undergraduate degree was in? For any specific kind of prerequisites, undergrad degree as a match to the master's program, I recommend reaching out to your admission liaison. They would know more specifically. If the program requires you to have a degree in a certain area to apply, or if it doesn't matter. A lot of our programs don't, though. A lot of our programs have students that come from various different backgrounds. Even in my program in nutrition, there were folks that were coming from Wall Street, so who did not get a degree in nutrition in their undergrad. So definitely reach out to your admission liaison for that. What is the typical accepted GRE score? As I mentioned, we do not have GRE minimum scores. It is a holistic review process, so we don't have minimum scores. Will the MyBest score be accepted? Yes, we do accept TOEFL MyBest scores, so that is an option. For an international student who is taught in English, is IELTS required? As I mentioned, you can waive the English proficiency exam requirement if you obtained a degree at a English, like sole speaking English institution, US or non-US. So you would work with your admission liaison to provide documentation for that and go through the process of waiving that. The recording will be available. Sorry, I forgot to mention in the beginning that this is being recorded. Please just allow a few days, a week or so for us to process the recording, so you can reach out to us at admission@tc.columbia.edu, which I'll type in the chat, admission@tc.columbia.edu, to obtain a copy of the recording. But again, please just reach out in the next few days. It's not going to be available today by any means. What is the typical GPA and work experience background of most successful applicants in the EDM programs? As I mentioned, it is a holistic review process, so we don't have specific requirements for GPA or GRE. So That is where other components of your application are really important to put a lot of work into, because we're weighing everything. Spend some time on your statement of purpose. Spend some time preparing your recommenders for what program you're applying to, what your goals are, what the deadline is. And then when it comes to background, whether it's the program you did in undergrad or work experience, your admission liaison would be able to help you with what the program is looking for. I didn't see the program liaison for psych, but I assume you want to touch with a professor before a research program. I mentioned Ashley is the admission liaison for the counseling and clinical psychology department, Ashley Blasland. I will give the link to our website where you can see the list of liaisons. This is also where you can see who our student ambassadors currently are. So you can reach out to them at tcstudent@tc.columbia.edu for more information about connecting with them, setting up an appointment with them. But this is the website that lists our admission liaisons, so you can have their email directly in front of you. All right, I'll answer a few more questions. I want to be really mindful of everyone's time, so thank you to those who are still here. I apologize for going over, but I hope this is helpful, and I want to answer as many questions as I possibly can. Can you provide more in-depth information about the Reimagining Education Advanced Certificate Program? What's the deadline for this program? Please utilize the program search page, www.tc.edu/programs, and you can find the link to the program website with more information, as well as the deadline for the program. Can you speak about relationships between students and faculty in your experience? Did you feel like faculty and professors were very approachable, supportive, and cared about their students individually? Absolutely. That is something I think was truly a highlight of my time in the program, and something I noticed that our students also echo, is that our faculty are highly accessible and super in touch. They really want to be invested in your education as well. Oftentimes you share similar research interests or just passion, so they are really willing to assist you with whatever it is that you need. I said it earlier, you get out what you put in, and that goes for your relationships with faculty. So go to their office hours, reach out to them. A lot of them will give out their personal phone numbers even, and you can get coffee with them and kind of chat. I know so many folks who have done that. And, you know, they're going to be your future colleagues in the field that you're working in. So really take advantage of them and the resource and the knowledge that they have to offer you. And yeah, I would say they're super accessible, super supportive, and really invested in each of their students' educations. How do I send my transcripts to WES or ECE? When will the application for fall 2024 be open? So you would do everything for the course by course evaluation through WES or ECE. So you would go to their website, create an application, or create a online account, and do everything through WES or ECE. So it's all a process managed through them. We do not manage any of that stuff. It's external. I'm applying to a certificate program. The application requires 2 letters of rec. I listed 4. 2 have sent their letters in already, while the other 2 have not. Will my application still be considered incomplete, even though it still has 2 that have sent their letters? Yeah, so I would reach out to your admission liaison to have them possibly remove those additional recommenders. You're not supposed to submit more than 3. So the application would still kind of view your application as incomplete because you input 4. So definitely reach out to your admission liaison and they can assist you further. All right. Okay, that looks like it for me. I got through all of them. Yay. If you have another question or think of something later on, feel free to email us at admission@tc.columbia.edu. We would be happy to continue the conversation and provide any more information that we can. You know, the conversation doesn't have to end today. So we are here for you. Again, please check out our events page. I'll link it in the chat for you. We have a lot of wonderful events. We have student ambassador-led Ask Me Anything events, which is really just an open forum for you to ask whatever questions you're interested in. You know, information sessions, virtual tours, I mentioned the crafting webinar. That's a very popular one, financial aid webinars, things like that, all resources to help you in this process. We want to be here for you in any way that we can. So thank you all so much for coming today and for taking the time to learn more about TC. We look forward to interacting with you in the future. We look forward to receiving your applications, and we hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye, everyone.